The Out of Bounds Show brought to you by Sound and Communications, top quality audio visual company, soundcomav.com. They provide leading edge audio visual for businesses, churches, and sports facilities, including baseball fields, arenas, football stadiums, and, hey, football facilities, basketball facilities, and so on. Powered by soundcomav.com. Top quality audio visual, sound and communications. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone, the Out of Bounds Show. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Our friend Steve Palazzolo joining us, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com, senior NFL analyst. Steve P., it did not start well for Dak Prescott on Saturday night with the pick six, but he recovered quickly and went on to have a hell of a game. How did PFF grade Mr. Prescott?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was one of his better games of the season, after the pick six, of course. But, yeah, he was really good. And it was impressive, I think, watching Dak and the Cowboys offense going up against an Eagles defense that really hadn't given up that many yards through the air like that or been picked apart the way they were. So, yeah, you take out the pick six, I think it might have been his best game of the season, maybe outside of the Bears game. And it was nice to see Dak and the offense bounce back, going to CeeDee Lamb over and over again at certain points of the game and knowing that you have your go-to guy. But, yeah, I thought Dak was fantastic in that game. Again, when you take out that first, third pass, whatever it was, on the pick six to Josh Sweat.
If they had one more piece like some other teams, how would you handicap them?
Well, like at receiver?
Yes.
In particular? Yeah, I mean, I think it always helps. And even though it was only one catch, you just saw, hey, T.Y. Hilton being a part of things. So, yeah, one extra piece always helps because, you have games. If a team isn't specifically taking away CeeDee Lamb, you can go to him. And you can go to him in different ways. You can go to him on the outside, in the slot, middle of the field, outside the numbers. And when teams take away your best option to your second option, the best teams have a third or fourth option. And all of that absolutely helps along the way. So I think that would absolutely elevate the Cowboys even more. But it's been good to see what they've done offensively these last couple of weeks with what they have and making do with their receiving core.
How do you handicap tonight? Cowboys, Titans, and the Titans are going to sit a bunch of players because they need next week's game against the Jaguars. How do you handicap tonight in Nashville between the Cowboys and Titans?
Yeah, I think Dallas, while they have they don't really have a great chance to win the division, they still kind of do. So they're going to play. I think Tennessee really is. I mean, they're already resting their players. I think it's going to be really tough for Tennessee to stay in the game. So, I mean, I know the spread's over 10. I mean, I think Dallas should roll here. Now, I know it's a road game. It's a short week and the whole thing. Well, but, the Cowboys still have something to play for. They're going to want to stay sharp heading into those last couple of weeks and into the playoffs. Tennessee's only looking to next week. I think Dallas should roll in this game. And I think we lose what could have been a good game if Tennessee had something to play for, but just one of those quirks of the schedule where it only matters next week for the AFC South.
If Steve Palazzolo with Pro Football Focus got to hire one of the two coaches, as I love Vrabel. I like McCarthy. I don't dislike him like, I give Kellen Moore a hard time. Who would you go with, Vrabel or McCarthy, if you were hiring a coach today?
Oh, man, I think Vrabel. I mean, he may have lost a little luster these last few weeks as the Titans have fallen apart here, but he's got a multi-year history now of elevating that team. We've talked about that a little bit on the show here, where I think Vrabel is going to get up into that Mike Tomlin conversation of a guy that, no matter what you give him from a roster standpoint, he's going to have some level of success. Again, they're going through this rough losing streak, and they haven't been able to do that. But when you look at what their roster has been the last couple of years, the fact that they were the number one seed last year with so many injuries, I think Vrabel just does a great job of maximizing his players' ability, motivating them, putting them in position to succeed. So I think Vrabel's got a bright future as one of those just solid, dependable head coaches for the foreseeable future.
I agree. I think he's great. Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus on the Yuengling Lager guest line. All right, so let's go around. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on at the QB position. And it will be interesting to see what the draft gives us and some people, moving around. But let's go out west for a second with the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's start with what's with the Broncos. They fire Hackett. Do you still believe that if they identify the right guy in Denver, that guy and Russell Wilson can resurrect his career, Steve?
I feel like I have to believe yes. I mean, Russ was so bad this year and not in line with the rest of his career. Now, there were definitely warning signs that he was trending in this direction where, I mentioned that a few times as well. Since the middle of 2020, Russell Wilson was not anything close to what he had been previously. So middle of 2020 kind of falls off the map. Last year, 2021, battled some injuries, but he also just wasn't good when he was on the field. And this year's been an absolute disaster. But he's still 34 years old. He's only 34 years old. And I think what I'm trying to figure out is, back in the day, did you have quarterbacks that dropped off at 34, 35 years old? And have we been skewed by what Tom Brady's doing, what Drew Brees was able to do for a couple of years in his late 30s, what Aaron Rodgers is able to do in his late 30s? Have we been skewed, or is Russell Wilson just going to, completely lose it? He's not the same athletically, accuracy, everything's off. But I also wonder how much Seattle protected him from a schematic standpoint. They really knew him inside and out, and they knew, I think, not to put too much on Russell Wilson's plate and to really play to his strengths, which makes me think Denver's going to go to one of Russell Wilson's old coaches. It might be too short-sighted to think, well, you got to get Darrell Bevel or Brian Schottenheimer or one of these old offensive coordinators of Russell Wilson's, but it's desperate in Denver. They can't just bring in an offensive coach and say, here's our system, Russell Wilson's going to run it. We know that was a massive failure. So I think there's a way to get out of it, but I think you probably have to tap into somebody who knows Russell Wilson, will play to his strengths and be able to extract the best out of him. All the while he's doing it with less physical gifts than he had previously and has to figure out how to adjust his game.
Wow. Steve Palazzolo on the Yuengling Lager guest line. NFL Insider. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show. Show is brought to you by the Extra Añejo Patron Tequila. That's what our NFL QB1 discussion is brought to you by this morning. Blake Scott, you've got a question for Steve Palazzolo.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off this, and it's not to segue it to what's happening in New York, but it is a similar, albeit different circumstances. Zach Wilson has lost control of the locker room. They're not going to play him anymore. His mental game, he lost all confidence in himself. Russell Wilson, with a way more extensive resume of success, seems like it's the same thing where the team doesn't believe in him. His confidence in himself might not be gone, but it feels like the confidence of everyone around him in him is gone. From what you've watched a ton of football, you've seen all these things play out. Is it as simple as if you win games, people will start to believe in you again, or is there some truth to the idea that Russell Wilson and his style of life, his style of
personality,
play in the locker room, it's been broken and that myth is busted and he's not going to be able to kind of be a leader at that level, at the level he was in Seattle?
It's a good question, Blake. I mean, I think that the wins do take care of things. But what's funny about this whole situation is how many former Seahawks teammates, though, are coming out and being like, oh, that's just Ross. That's how he was. He was quirky. He's this, he's that. A lot of people coming out speaking against him. But you didn't hear it at the time because the Seahawks were winning, right? They were winning, and until maybe at the very end, it fell apart a little bit. So it is a challenge to get it back. But I think if you're winning, it kind of works. And in the struggle here and the difference between this and, say, the Jets situation is the Broncos are tied to Wilson for at least 3 more years because the salary cap numbers are insane. And, that was maybe the mistake in hindsight here. It wasn't the trade for Russell Wilson. I think that was the right move. Denver was sitting here with this good roster. They'd had mid-tier, mid-level quarterback play for years. had to make a move at the quarterback position. But then they re-upped Russell Wilson to his 40-year-old season or whatever it was with just ridiculous money, and they had no out. They had no hedge if Russell Wilson fell apart. So they're stuck with him. You know, if Russell Wilson's lost the locker room, they have to find a locker room that he can regain because they're stuck with him for a few years. They need to make Russell Wilson work. He's more important than their starting guard or their starting defensive tackle. They have to make Russell Wilson work. And if they do, I do think that the winning does take care of things. But when you're losing and you don't have the respect of the locker room, yeah, it looks pretty toxic from the outside.
Steve Palazzolo, NFL Insider, Pro Football Focus. He joins us on the Yuengling Lager guest line. Let's go to Gardner Minshew. With everything what we're watching on Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, and some of these guys are trending the wrong way, and then other teams don't have anybody, period. But what, in your opinion, does his future look like? Do you think he'll have multiple suitors, and do you think he'll get paid? Paid like a top 15 QB, but do you think he'll have multiple suitors and get the bag in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Minshew, he's probably going to get looked at as a high-end backup, I think, going forward, maybe a low-end starter. You know, the teams like Washington that have just rotated through quarterbacks the last few years might think, okay, Gardner Minshew's the next guy in the rotation. It's such the NFL is just fascinating, right? You've got the Raiders actively trying to move on from Derek Carr, and then immediately everyone's thinking of the 5 teams where Derek Carr would be a great fit to upgrade their quarterback situation. Like Derek Carr is the missing piece for the Jets or the Colts or the Bucs, right? I mean, that's the quarterback situation in the NFL, right? So it's tough to say that everybody's going to be like pounding Minshew's door looking for him to be the next starter. I don't think that's the case because everybody wants the top 10 guy. But I think that second wave of, okay, I didn't get my top 10 guy, or maybe I'm going to go, maybe it's the Raiders, right? They're going to draft in the top 8 or 10, and they're going to take a guy like an Anthony Richardson or something because that's what Josh McDaniels is going to do, right? He pushes the quarterback out the door, and then he goes and gets floored as quarterback in the first round, like he did with Tebow back in 2010. That's what McDaniels is going to do, right? But Minshew could be that guy that goes in and becomes that bridge starter for the team that's drafted in the top 10. And maybe Minshew's better than the guy that they draft. So I think, look, we saw it in Jacksonville. He took a team that had very few pieces, elevated them into reasonable before they moved on and, went with Trevor Lawrence. And then you saw him with a really good supporting cast in Philadelphia and what he did last week and how he was able to tear it up.
It sounds like everybody's excited about Gardner Minshew. And
the kids broke in. The kids broke in over here.
I love it. And see, Steve Palazzolo's house, Gardner Minshew's from here, and they love some Minshew mania. He joins us on the Yuengling Lager guest line. I think you're underselling him a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to talk you into – you'll get better by March 1. And we'll work through it.
He's very good. I mean, he's a very good player, but who's like going out of their way to say, I need Minshew as my starter? That's my question.
What do you think the Titans' future is? And the Steelers? I mean, we don't know about Pickett yet. Malik Willis, I don't know what's happening there. Tannehill's getting older. He's never been really good. He's been, I think, good. Carolina's got an opening. I mean, we've got a lot. We've got several franchises that don't know what exactly they have at the quarterback position, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, a team like Pittsburgh, I think Kenny Pickett showed enough, and they invested a first rounder. They're gonna let that one play out. But I think even when Pickett's really, really impressive, it's similar to Minshew. It's like, is this the guy that you want to, invest in for the next 8 to 10 years? I don't know if that's really the case. So I think Pittsburgh will give Pickett a shot there. I think Tennessee's tied with Tannehill for at least another year, but they need to keep looking. I say this every year to you guys. You keep taking swings at the quarterback position. It's okay if you miss. I think It's okay. I think it's okay that the Jets missed on Zach Wilson. Now, it's tough when you say, oh, they chose Zach Wilson over, say, Justin Fields, who looks like he's becoming a star because of his rushing ability. And it's tough when you put those side by side, but the Jets organization is not hurting because they missed on a quarterback and they could have had, another defensive tackle or offensive lineman or whatever. So, yeah, like the Titans took a third round shot on Malik Willis, and they probably have to take another shot.
That's a good point
for their future.
Okay.
Just keep swinging at that position because the payout is just so incredible until you know who you have.
All right, I know there's unicorns. Kyle Shanahan's winning with Brock Purdy, third string, whatever you want to call him, quarterback. Sean Payton, I think, went 10-0 or something with Bridgewater and Jameis combined the last couple of years when Breeze was hurt. So you got those dudes that are just unbelievable. Reed, like you mentioned all the time with the Chiefs, he's dealt with some people outside of Mahomes and still won. What is your response to Kyle Shanahan with the San Francisco 49ers still moving the football and winning games with Brock Purdy?
I'm not surprised. I mean, he has over a decade of proof that he could do this. Even when Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard were in there, they didn't win a lot of games, but they put up offensive numbers, right? They moved the ball. They put up yards. Not that yards are the thing you're calculating, but, he has been QB agnostic, Shanahan, throughout his years. And then the one year that he got a top 8 quarterback was Matt Ryan, and he had it for 2 years. And the second year, he was MVP of the league. I mean, there's a history here of Kyle Shanahan being able to create offense. And then you have the actual playmakers on the field when Deebo Samuel's healthy, but Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and McCaffrey and everybody that they have there. I mean, just watch the games. The Thursday night game where they had that, double fake screen and George Kittle's wide open over the middle. And everybody's like, oh, good job, Brock Purdy. It's like, it was a one read, perfect design, 335-yard touchdown, right? Look at the ocean that he's throwing into on certain passes to George Kittle or Brandon Ayuk. And that's not to take anything away from Purdy, because I do think there's also, not every play is easy in Shanahan's system. Purdy has come back and made some plays under pressure against the Bucs. He was taking hits and still getting the ball down the field. It's been impressive what Purdy's done. But if you just get, a distributor who's going to, go through his reads, get rid of the ball quickly, put him in Shanahan's offense, chances are they're going to move the ball. So there's a history there going back to Matt Schaub putting up great numbers in the system. So I'm not surprised, but I'm also, impressed on both ends. Purdy's done great. And, for expectations, and Shanahan just continues to make do with whoever he has under center.
All right. Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. Steve Palazzolo, NFL Insider, joins us on the Out of Bounds show and the Yuengling Lager guest line. Let's go to Sean Payton. So we've already got a couple openings. We're going to have more. If you had to guess where Sean Payton lands in the next couple of weeks, what do you think?
How do you guys feel about the Brady rumors? Would you guys become Brady people?
Brady.
He becomes a Saint. Brady to the Saints with Sean Payton.
Oh, my gosh. That'd turn the show upside down.
Right, that's the hottest. 46-year-old Brady and Sean Payton. I mean, I can't see – I don't think Sean Payton's a great fit with Russell Wilson in Denver.
Okay.
I think
and
Sean
Brandon
Staley.
Brandon Staley's winning too much. Although, let's say they just kind of, don't. Let's say they go 0 for in the playoffs. Do the Chargers sit there and go, "Hey, we got a Super Bowl winning head coach who lived in the playoffs at a franchise who never went to the playoffs, and we'll move off Staley with the Chargers"? You see that happening, or no way? How do you see that?
I mean, anything can happen. Who the heck knows? We've got ridiculous. Derek Carr just got sent home. Who knows? But I would say no. I mean, predict the NFL, please, right? Trace McSorley and Tom Brady just went to overtime on Sunday night. So I would say no. I think Brandon Staley's fine. It seems like the Chargers were the team where every Saint fan was rooting against the Chargers so that they would trade for Sean Payton. And I do love that idea of Sean Payton and Justin Herbert. I think that would be incredible.
Me too.
Maybe the Chargers try to hit a home run with that move because you have to try to hit home runs when you're in the Chiefs division. But I think Staley's fine. I think he's a good enough coach, and I don't think he was ever really on the hot seat as people may have expected.
Okay. So Steve thinks he is going to the Arizona Cardinals to take Cliff Kingsbury's place, and Kyler Murray will rehab and come back, and we'll see what Sean does with Kyler Murray. Who knows? All right, you're right. Well,
yeah.
You got one more?
Peyton and Tyler.
Yeah.
Could see that.
That could be filthy. Blake, you got one more as we wrap it up?
I don't. All right, so I know we like to make the joke, but I haven't asked you one fantasy question all year, so I got to get one in. So I made the championship game in one of my 3 leagues, and I got to know: do I start?
Congratulations.
I know. You'll sleep better tonight. Do I start Jalen Hurts coming off injury or Dak Prescott tonight on a short week?
Ooh.
Jalen Hurts isn't going to play, is he?
Well, see, that's what I don't know. I keep hearing up in the air either way. I have Gardner on the bench too.
No,
you got to start Dak, right?
I don't think Hurts. Yes, absolutely. I don't think Hurts is going to play.
Okay, I didn't think. Why would you, right?
And even if he did, I don't expect Hurts to play. And even if he did, with the clavicle, whatever he had in the shoulder there, I can't imagine they would run him as much as they usually do. So he loses his rushing value, even if he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Dak is going to tear apart the Titans tonight.
All right.
Well, when I win my championship game, I'll send you a selfie so that you feel good about it.
Boom.
Yeah. A selfie. Perfect.
All right.
I'm sad I haven't made the finals in my my dynasty league for the first time in 7 years here.
Oh, wow.
I am a dynasty in my dynasty league, but I haven't made the finals for the first time in 7 years.
Man.
I've won it 4 out of 6 years coming into this year, and I lost in the semifinals.
That's embarrassing. I don't know what to tell you.
It is.
All right, dude. Enjoy tonight's. Well, I hope Dallas doesn't lay an egg, but I'd said riveting matchup, but you never know in the NFL.
Yeah.
Be good, bud. See you.
Never know. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Yeah, you don't in the NFL. I mean, good grief. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Show is brought to you by Sound and Communications. Sound and Communications. Top quality audio visual, soundcomav.com. Provide leading edge audio visual for businesses, churches, and sports facilities powered by soundcomav.com and Sound and Communications. That was a good interview. We hit Dak Prescott, who after the pick six played out of his mind against the Philadelphia Eagles and was a playmaker left and right. And then there's a lot of uncertainty at the quarterback position in the NFL. That could bode well for none other than Gardner Minshew.
At this point, do you want 46-year-old Tom Brady for a one-off, or do you with a brand new roster, or do you want someone that you can run a couple seasons with?
That's a good question. I would think the latter.
And the real question to me is if you're Sean Payton. We talked about this with Dan Mullen. We've seen it with other coaches. The second stint is rarely as magical as the first.
No doubt. Ron Polk? Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. What if Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL and another blue blood program opens up? How could that disrupt college football if Harbaugh heads out of Michigan to the Colts or somewhere else? Dave Bartu at 9:30.